employer shortage. In some areas, the shortage was so great that employers were no longer requiring a drug test. So, but black males, yeah, and in this period, I hate to think about what the unemployment rate is in the inner city. I can tell you this, that among black teenagers, based on, as of September 2009, the unemployment rate is over 40%, those who are in the labor market. Now that doesn't even include those who are not in the labor market. The unemployment rate among black males is higher than it is among black females.
How is this ever going to change? I mean, the education approaches here with the Harlem Children's Zone seem very promising. But for young black men, I mean, how are they ever going to advance? The manufacturing jobs are gone. People, as you say, often don't want to hire them for service industries. There don't seem to be many other jobs around. What are they going to do?
Well, let me just say this. It's very tough. And I think that some of these men you're not going to rescue. That's why I want to make sure that we don't create another generation of economic proletarians, and that's why it's so important to begin early in the schools to capture these youngsters before it's too late. But I do think that it's very, very important to work toward tight labor markets, do whatever you can to stimulate economic growth. And tight labor markets, even then it's very difficult for these men to find employment. And here's where the targeting comes in. I talked about universal programs that would be available to all groups that need help. There may be the need to sort of focus on targeting programs for these young black males who are finding it so difficult to make it in mainstream society, especially ex-offenders. Ex-offenders leaving prisons find it virtually impossible to find employment. So there's got to be some program that will ease the transition to civilian life. One thing I would like to do is to bring back these apprenticeship programs and other programs to get these young men job ready before they are released from prisons, and then have a middle person to vouch for them, to work with employers to find them employment.
Mm-hmm. Professor Wilson, are you saying, though, that in a sense this current generation of young black men for whom there aren't sufficient jobs available and who have low skills in the inner city, that's a lost generation, that we've got to talk about the younger kids who we can get into better schools so they'll have more technological skills that they need in our society, and this generation, in a sense, of low-skilled black men has to be written off?
I can't say that. I don't want to be quoted saying that.
What do you
All
think?
I can say is I'm very pessimistic.
Very
Let
pessimistic.
it go at that. Okay.
Okay.
Very pessimistic.
Well, these cultural factors, you've run into this. Why are black men so scary to so many white people? And not only to white people, because you write in More Than Just Race that when you lived in Chicago, you were on the alert. If you were walking your dog out late at night and you saw a group of young black teenagers approaching. And you've had an experience in your condo, I guess, in Cambridge, where you got on an elevator and you're dressed in casual clothes and you lived in the building for 9 years, right? And an elderly white couple is afraid of you. What's going on here?
Well, I just used the mildest incident. My stepping on the elevator, dressed in casual clothes and people getting uptight. Some of the units in my condo sell for $1 million a year. So they're looking at, what the hell is this black man doing in the condo? But I stepped into the elevator with a shirt and tie on, dressed like I am now, no problem. But I could have used another. I thought about using many other examples. One example I could have used, and it occurred to me when my friend Skip Gates got arrested. Our house,
Professor Henry Louis Gates.
Right, Henry Louis Gates. Our house was burglarized in in Chicago, lived in a very expensive house, not too far from where Barack Obama lives, the same neighborhood, about 2 blocks away. And the alarm went off and called the police, and the policeman came, knocked on the door, opened the door, and I'm standing there in my pajamas. And he looked at me, he said, "You live here?" and put his hand on his gun. "You live here?" And man, you know, my wife came down, and then he saw my wife, and I said, "Yeah, this is my husband." And he relaxed a bit. It happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, black people who have experienced this, and I'd be surprised if there's a black male in the audience who has not had a similar kind of experience, maybe not as quite as extreme as Skip or myself with this police officer. But black people sort of related to what Skip went through, Henry Louis Gates Jr., because we've experienced this. Overwhelming majority of blacks sympathize with Skip. Overwhelming majority of whites sympathize with the police officer. By the way, I'll just tell you this. Well, never mind. Is this on tape?
I don't know. Are we taping tonight? Yes.
All right, then I won't say. Okay. I was going to go disclose a secret that would have helped explain the position Skip was in dealing with it. Never mind.
All right. But when you lived in Chicago, and you write that you walked your dog out late at night, and if you saw a young black man approaching, or a group of young black teenagers, you were on the alert. What is it that you were afraid of?
Well, when I stepped into the elevator at my condo, people were probably influenced by the racial stereotypes, dangerous young black men. For me, as a sociologist, however, you know, I'm quite aware of the effects of structural impediments, that people who don't have opportunities in this society are much more likely to turn to crime, that I'm walking in this neighborhood which is bordered just a few 100 feet away, maybe more than that, maybe more like a half mile, is a black ghetto. And a lot of these kids spill over into the neighborhood where Obama lives and where I now live, you know. And so I'm walking my dog late at night, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a sociologist. I'm aware of the statistics. I'm aware of the mugging rates. What are the odds? Am I going to brave it and just walk past these guys, or am I going to cross the street? No, I tensed up, only because I'm aware that we put these young black men in a position where a not small percentage of them will be involved in muggings and other kinds of crime. And I was calculating the odds at that time, and I tensed up.
So it's all about opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was sufficient opportunity.
Look what happened to the kids in the Harlem Children's Zone. One of the things, the research we're going to do is try to gauge the extent to which kids who are involved in the Harlem Children's Zone and who have access to programs in the Harlem Children's Zone, the extent to which they're involved in other kinds of activities that are antisocial, gangs, drugs, so on. Preliminary evidence suggests there's a significant drop for those who are involved, significant decrease in these kinds of activities for those who are involved in these programs. You know, that's why I keep emphasizing the Harlem Children's Zone. It is so important to be able to communicate to people that if you open up opportunities and you do it properly, correctly, adequately, folks will respond. Because there's a general view in our society that nothing really works. And that's why, you know, I'm really looking forward to the day when Barack Obama start talking about the success of the Harlem Children's Zone, and he can do it very effectively. He can really put that message out there and really get people behind a program like this.
Professor Wilson, you've written that the civil rights movement, you laud it, of course, but you say that more skilled and more educated black Americans were able to take advantage of the opportunities, but the less skilled were not necessarily able to take advantages of those opportunities to advance in society. And so there's a big income divide now, a huge income divide in the black community.
Well, that's the subject of my book, The Declining